segment, we'll be discussing how to attach the logic extension we previously created to an application. Now, understand that logic extensions can be pretty generic, so if it makes sense, a particular logic extension could be applied to, the same one could be applied to multiple different applications. In this particular case, to adjust the delivery date, we're going to do that on a purchase order, on the details of a purchase order. This could be done on a sales order, or since we're just simply adjusting dates based on user input, it could be on any kind of an application that has dates that are related, work orders, journal entries, whatever makes sense. But in this case, it's on purchase orders. So let me show you how to attach that logic extension. I'm going to go into the detail of a particular purchase order, and we'll do a couple of things. First, we have to open up the form extension. And in order to kick off the logic extension, we need to have something that triggers it. And in this case, I'm going to add a button. So when the user clicks the button, that's when they will be able to update the dates. I'm going to put the button right here. And I'm going to call it update promise date. Now that the button is here, we can attach the logic extension to it. To do that, we go to this link labeled Associate Orchestrations. Click on that, and we're able to activate a couple of different things. We're focused on logic extensions, so I will click there. Next, I have to say what event is triggering this logic extension, and that's this button. So you click in this field, the control, and then you go here to indicate which control it is that's kicking it off. It's going to ask you which event within the push button, and I'm going to use the button clicked event. And then we go to the next step. We select which logic extension it is we want to use. There could be many in place, so you want to label it clearly so that it makes so it's easy to find. We're going to update the delivery date. Next thing we need to do is define the inputs. Now, there's two things that we want to input into this. One, we want to select which date to base it on, and then how many days to add to that. So let's start with the days to add. I'm going to allow input, but I'm also going to set a default. So by default, it'll be 5 days, but this allows the user to make a change to it if 5 days is not appropriate. Next thing we want to do is select which date this is based on. Now, you'll notice one thing. When we're in here selecting the input, it goes to the default grid. So you may have had everything all lined up so that the fields are just where you need it based on a grid format, but that's going to be not visible at this point. So you're going to have to go hunt for the field you're looking for, and it may not be where you expected it. All right, so we're going to use the requested date. And again, mapping to select it, request date, you see that's in there. And then we go to the next step. This step, we're just going to click through, going to allow the user to cancel it if necessary. The other things don't really apply here. So we'll continue on to define the outputs. Now, what field is it that we want to have this new date updated to? And that is the promised delivery date. So click on that, click Save, and we're done. I'll close it and save it. And we'll close Form Extension Manager. And let's give it a quick test, just to make sure. This right now is set, the promised delivery date is set to the 4th, based on the request date being the 4th. We're going to update that. I click the row. Give it a second for it to pop up. All right. How many days do we want to add? The default is 5, so let's just leave it at that, although I could go in and change it, as you can see, but I'm going to leave it as the default. And you'll see that it's now 5 days later. You have now successfully attached a logic extension and tested it to verify that it works correctly. That concludes this segment.